Welcome back to What Are We Thinking? Today we're going to give you a boat tour, but not the whole tour. You've seen that. This is the nitty-gritty, down and dirty, non-sexy tour of what it's like for us to live in the winter. So cords everywhere and things we have to deal with in the winter that we don't deal with in the summer, and not the pretty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the first things that people ask when we say we live on a boat in Chicago is, what do you do in the winter? So we're going to show you all of the little things over the last 8 winters that we've been living aboard that we've figured out.
Yeah. And we're going to start with the fact that we're wearing t-shirts right now. You can see the door is open. We're sweating right now. It's really hot. It's February 27th.
Yep.
It's a warmer day outside today. It's 43 and sunny. So it's pretty nice for winter in Chicago. But inside here, it's 82 degrees. And getting warmer.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we have to deal with, is just with no insulation on a boat, it's hard to regulate the temperature. As soon as the sun goes down, the temperature starts to drop. So we always want to make sure that we keep enough heat in here so we aren't freezing at night. But then the flip side is, as soon as the sun hits the boat, it just cranks up the heat.
Yeah, and we have the heaters set up so that, they will turn off at a certain temperature, but sometimes they don't, and we'll turn things on and off because it's almost too hot in here.
Yeah. And like this morning, we have this radiator heater that's nice to help keep an even temperature in the living area. And we forgot to turn it off. I mean, it was 70 before the sun started hitting the boat, and we forgot to turn it off, so that just cranked it up to 80 pretty quickly.
Yeah. And because we are downtown Chicago, we live right next door to a 14-story building, and the sun is pretty well blocked in the morning, and it isn't really until about noon that the sun starts to hit us. But we're just at that point of the year where now the sun is starting to come up a little higher in the sky, and so we get the sun earlier in the day. It's around 10:30 a.m. that it's getting it. So by noon, it's hot in here, and it's just, we have to have the door open. We have to have other things open. We just opened the front hatch to try to get a little airflow through here because it's just really warm.
Another thing we'll probably do is, we're still wrapped in plastic, but we do have a hatch to access the water fill, and we'll probably open that just to get a little breeze through the outside of the boat too. So let's take you around the rest of the boat and show you all the little things that we do here in the winter. Here's one thing that we do is we hang a curtain in front of our door. Just helps insulate a little bit more. The door seals pretty well. We've actually added extra weather sealing to help that make a tight seal, but still glass lets in some air. So we put this up and it looks pretty too. Cords. We've got lots of electrical cords running around in the winter. We've tidied it up. We've kind of figured out a better system from the first time we were doing it. We only have these 2 cords coming in here. We had to leave the window open a gap to allow that to come in, but then we sealed it with some tape here so it keeps the air from coming in. And then those come down here, and we have some splitters, and then those go off to various areas of the boat to plug in different heaters. And doesn't look great, but it's not too bad, and this is usually where we keep our backpack and purse, and kind of hidden by the chair, so not too bad. We try to hide them by sneaking them under the seats here, and then out on this side into the front bedroom, and then we have one going into our bedroom in the back that I'll show you. So this one comes down here. We're able to tuck it underneath and then squeeze the cord for this heater right here. It does hinder the door when we're opening and closing it if we don't have it in the right spots. Sometimes we have to adjust it so we don't pinch it. And then we have another cord coming from the closet, which actually, we have a hole going into the engine room, and that's where we have that cord started. And then it just tucks under the carpet here and under the bed. So I think we do a pretty good job of hiding them, and that's for the heater down on that side of the bed. But yeah, we do have cords everywhere.
So why do we use the heaters that we use? We've done videos before where we've talked about this, but a lot of people ask, why don't we use like a mini split system? Number one, That's something that would have to be installed, whether that's a temporary install that we would have to do every fall and then remove it in the spring. We could potentially do something like that, but this really seems to work best. Now, we have this heater, which we like in here because it's nice and quiet. It's nice, even radiated heat, and it works really well. The other heaters that we use are these smaller fan style ceramic heaters. We found these on Amazon. I ordered one and I really liked it. They're nice and quiet as well, even though there is a fan that's blowing. They only last a couple of years, so we do have to replace them every couple of years. We like the fan style because these also oscillate, so it's nice because that gives us nice heat pushed throughout the boat, because there are definitely some cold spots. The heater that we have in the front bedroom also heats up the bathroom. So in the winter, we have this door open, and we keep this door open when it's just the two of us. We just keep it open all the time. If we have guests, we'll a lot of times shut that door so that people can have their privacy when they're using the restroom. But we do have to keep this door open so that we can heat the bathroom. Another thing about heating the bathroom is what, Colette?
We keep this stopper in the drain at all times in the winter. It's amazing how much cold air comes through that drain. That drain just goes straight out to the side of the boat. So the air just comes right back in, and it really helps to keep the stoppers in. We open these cabinet doors under the sinks when it's extremely cold and get the heater a little closer here to make sure that the drain doesn't freeze up and allows water to flow when it's super cold.
The flybridge is a mess in the winter. It is just full of stuff. Like, we have our sun pad from the bow. We have our table that we normally have out on the dock. We have just all kinds of stuff up here. We're not taking the boat out, so this kind of becomes a storage area. We have the floating swan, and if you don't know about the floating swan, take a look at this video that I'm going to link here, and you can see the story of when the swan escaped. So it just is a bit of a mess.
So in the winter, we don't spend as much time back here. We probably should spend more time. Our neighbors spend a ton of time on their back deck. And it's hot today, so we could. But at any rate, it becomes more of a mudroom. So taking shoes off, getting salt everywhere. If you don't live in cold climates, you don't know what that's like, but salt everywhere all the time. I just vacuumed, probably have to vacuum in 2 days. It becomes an extra fridge in the winter. Now, we just did a ton of grocery shopping, so there are plenty of provisions here right now that'll last a while. But yeah, these stairs, because we don't need to go up to the flybridge, become a drink fridge. We put these mats down here that look pretty nasty. Even though our carpet needs to be replaced, it just helps soak up some of the snow and salt in the winter.
Why is our fancy teak bar that we paid a lot of money for open like this? Well, after the first winter that we had this, we realized that the difference in temperature when it's cold at night from this area into here, which is not heated but gets a little bit warmer because of the inside being on the other side of the wall, it was warping the wood. And so we actually had the person who built it come back out, and they made the wood straighter again, and then they reinforced it. And that hasn't even worked that great. So what we've had to do is, when it's cold, we just keep it open. So we just have it hanging open all the time. But it's something that, if we didn't do, would ruin this beautiful piece of teak. This light stays on 24/7 in the winter. We usually keep it on in the summer too, but we keep it on in the winter so that our neighbors know that we have power. If this light were to be off, that means we don't have power, and potentially our heaters aren't working. So if we are gone out of town or just out for the evening, our neighbors can see, hey, that light's not on, there's an issue, we need to check on the boat.
Still hot. We now have the outside hatch on the plastic open, and I'm sitting on hot black blankets. Why am I sitting on furniture blankets? Well, another thing that helps keep the boat warm. So just an added layer of insulation. We buy these cheap online and put them here, and just soaks up that sun and brings it into the boat. So it's really nice when it's colder out. Plastic. Just another layer on the windows helps, even though we have the whole boat wrapped in plastic. Added layers, 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 just like layers of clothing. Layers of plastic help keep us warm. If you'd like to see more about how I installed that, you can check out this video that we're linking below. This hose right here is just an extension hose, and we have it going into our water inlet here, taped in place, so it's much easier to fill water. The other end is sticking outside of the plastic, and we just pull the hose from the building and connect that and fill up the water tanks. A lot easier. We used to like run it underneath the plastic, and you're ducking, and it's a pain in the excuse my French.
That's got to stay in. Let's talk safety. So we're walking around water, we want to be safe. One of the things that we noticed pretty quickly in our first year was that one of our shower bilges empties out right here at dock level, and it will actually get the dock wet. So I put this little piece of tape on here just to keep it from getting the dock wet and to make sure that we don't create any sort of slip hazard. As you can see, we have a bridge. We make this bridge because it's much easier to get on and off the boat from this concrete area than it would be to go through down on the dock and then back up the steps. This only is used in the winter, but we do like it. It's actually very convenient. Once we start taking the boat out, it has to go down and we store it. But as you can also see, the boat is totally wrapped in plastic. We did one year use just the white plastic, and we hated it. It just wasn't light enough. It didn't let in enough sunlight. It was no good. So we always use this semi-transparent plastic. It really allows the sun to come in. The boat is warm inside, just from the sunshine. I mean, we really don't have the heaters doing a whole lot today. It's just the sunshine is keeping it really nice and toasty.
We tape up any vents too to make sure that we're not getting cold air in, just like with stopping the sinks. And down here, the engine's taped up, and this is where you can see the extension cords coming out. So those go into the engine room to heat the engine room, and then that one that runs into our master bedroom as well.
We are fortunate enough at this marina to have pump out right next to our boat. So these yellow hoses stretch it out, pump out. So we don't have to move our boat. We don't have to have anybody else come and pump us out. It's just right here. Occasionally, the hoses, after they are used, we flush them with river water, but not all of that water can be drained out of the hose sometimes. And because they coil up like this, sometimes they freeze. And now my microphone is acting up. So here's where I tell you how we pour this antifreeze into the hoses after we pump out, just to make sure that they aren't gonna freeze.
Well, there you have it. And we've learned a lot over 8 years of doing this. But as we were taking you around, it's like, oh man, yeah, we can really tidy up those cords more. I mean, I think we could do some more little things to make it even better and cleaner in the winter.
It's one of those things, though, that we're just kind of used to it. I mean, the cords are only here for 4 months. It's amazing to think, as Colette mentioned, it's the end of February, and we're actually going to take this wrap off in 2 weeks, actually less than 2 weeks, because if you don't know it, St. Patrick's Day is pretty big in Chicago, and they dye the river green. So we usually have a little party, and we will take this boat out on the Green River. So it's at the end of the really, really cold months. January and February are really the coldest, and so March starts to get pretty nice, and there might be some cool nights without the wrap on, but we still have the plastic over the windows, we still have the heaters. We'll still get good warmth from the sun, so it will be okay.
Yeah. thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate all of you guys following us along our journey, and we will see you next time.
Thanks very much.